What's up YouTube, Saf here on Super Saf TV, and it's notch versus notch, the iPhone X versus the Huawei P20 Pro speed test. So we're going to be doing a bunch of tests. We'll be looking at benchmark scores, testing out some regular social apps, then moving on to games, and finishing off with RAM management. So without wasting any time, getting straight into it, looking at benchmark scores, the iPhone X scores very much higher compared to the P20 Pro. The single core score is actually more than double, and the multi-core score is also significantly higher. Now, how this all translates into real world performance, of course, we're going to find out. So here are the apps that we'll be using. You can see that we have nothing open in the background on both devices. We're starting off with Twitter, and that was quicker on the P20 Pro. Going into my notifications, slightly quicker on the iPhone X. Moving on to Instagram, that was slightly quicker on the P20 Pro, I would say. My profile, slightly quicker on the iPhone X. Opening up an image, pretty much neck and neck. Now let's move on to Facebook Pages Manager. Quicker on the P20 Pro. We're going to scroll down and we're leaving all of these apps open. YouTube. Now that was quicker on the P20 Pro, although we've got slightly different content on each of these. So let's go on to the trending tab, and we're going to find a video that doesn't have any adverts. So here's the Westworld trailer, and that was pretty much neck and neck, I would say. So very close so far. Now let's move on to games. You'll notice here that we've got a timer at the bottom, and that's going to tell us exactly how long each of these take to load up these games. And Angry Birds 2 was quicker on the P20 Pro, coming in a few seconds later on the iPhone X. We're going to leave this open and let's move on to Mario Run. Once again, we do have this timer, which is going to tell us exactly how long each of these take. Very close, just a fraction of a second quicker on the P20 Pro. We're going to play the game, and that was quicker on the iPhone X by a few seconds. Now let's move on to Sonic Dash. Neck and neck there, nothing in between these two. Now playing the game, it is slightly quicker on the iPhone X. Temple Run 2, very quick on the iPhone X, coming in a few seconds later on the P20 Pro. We're going to play the game and we're going to leave this open. Let's move on to Subway Surfers. Once again, very quick on the iPhone X, looks very well optimized, this game does. Now let's play the game. Dead Trigger 2. Once again, very quick for the intro screen on the iPhone X. Playing the game. iPhone X yet again. So for the later games, the iPhone X does seem to be performing very well. The P20 Pro comes in quite a few seconds later here. Moving on to Asphalt 8. iPhone X again. P20 Pro comes in a few seconds later. Now our final game, Real Steel Robot Wars. And yes, I know we are loading up quite a few games. And the reason for this is most games are pretty much the same on both platforms, and this makes tests as fair as possible, and also it will help us to look at RAM management. Was quicker on the iPhone X. Let's play the game. Once again, faster on the iPhone X. So some interesting results so far. Let's go ahead and test out RAM management. So we're going to see how many of these apps are still open. Asphalt 8 is open on both, although it did take a couple of seconds for the P20 Pro to load it up again. Dead Trigger 2, exactly in the same place. Subway Surfers, just where we left it. We can resume the game. Temple Run 2, in the same place. Once again, we can resume the game. Sonic Dash, aha, this does have to reload on the iPhone X. It is exactly where we left it on the P20 Pro. Now we do have more RAM on the P20 Pro, which seems to be helping here. Mario Run, this is also closed. Now what's interesting is earlier on the P20 Pro did load up a couple of the games faster compared to the iPhone X, but later the iPhone X loaded up the games faster. So I wonder if this is because the iPhone was closing down some of the previous games. Like we can see here, Angry Birds 2 has been closed on the iPhone 10, whereas it is open on the P20 Pro. So this might be a contributing factor why some of the later games did load up quite a bit faster on the iPhone 10 at a later stage. Going on to YouTube, it is exactly where we left it on the P20 Pro, but the app has reloaded on the iPhone 10. Pages Manager, once again, exactly where we left it on the P20 Pro, and has to reload completely on the iPhone 10. Instagram, yep, same situation. It's on the image where we left it on the P20 Pro, but it has to completely reload on the iPhone 10. Struggling to reload here again. Now let's move on to Twitter anyway. Now Twitter is in notifications on both, but it did have to reload on the iPhone 10. So there we have it, guys, a speed test between the iPhone 10 and the Huawei P20 Pro. I think both phones did perform well overall, pretty much neck and neck for the social apps, but when it came to games, most games did open quicker on the iPhone 10. Now this does seem to be because they are better optimized for iOS, but also possibly because the iPhone does close down some of the earlier apps in order to allocate more RAM to the newer apps that we were opening. And therefore the RAM management for the P20 Pro was definitely much better, keeping all the apps open in the background, whereas these were closed on the iPhone 10. What did you think of these results? Definitely drop me a comment below and let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then do hit that thumbs up button for me. And if you haven't already, then be sure to subscribe and switch on notifications. There's lots more Super Saf style content coming up on here. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on Super Saf TV, and I'll see you next time.